Hello, I'm Dr. Basil Considine. I'm here from the ACU Online Writing Center, and today we're going to be talking about song and music video analysis. Now, this is a special topic where we're looking at something that's a little bit out of the ordinary from the normal stream of writing about readings, writing about the argumentative topics. This is about taking a medium that many of us experience, that many of us consume, and looking at how to do things like derive meaning, how to understand what makes something effective, how to understand, if you were making something of this yourself, perhaps, what makes it tick. And so this exists as what we call a special topic discussion. And if you are looking for more information about any of the writing elements that we talk about, just take a peek at our Writing Webinars archive, and we have more examples throughout. So, a little bit about the Online Writing Center. We work with students in just about all of the online programs for ACU Dallas or ACU Online. So if you've transitioned from the mother campus in Abilene to studying online, welcome. We do similar stuff to the physical writing center, except you meet with us online, whether it's in real time or what we call asynchronous appointments. We work with students at any stage of their writing. There are no charges for any of our services. You can sign up for a time and upload a paper and either discuss it with us in real time if you choose a real-time appointment. You can discuss via phone or Zoom at your preference. Or for an asynchronous appointment, you sign up for a specific time. By the time that rolls around, you upload a copy of your paper and a special request for feedback, and then we go ahead and send you feedback via email, generally within 24 hours. It's a major holiday weekend, might take a little longer. If it's on a Sunday or a Monday, we make sure to get you your feedback by early Monday afternoon so that you can respond to the feedback and integrate it before you turn in your paper. All right. So if you are looking for different information on particular topics, we do have on the Writing Center web page, we have a Writing Webinars page. The top is a schedule of all the webinars for that term. Scroll down to the bottom, you'll find an alphabetical list. You can also find our program guide in the middle. This is a tabbed browsing guide here. You can select a particular program like FAMO, or you can go ahead and click on undergraduate to look at all the undergraduate webinars that we have, and those are sorted by program and by course number. So I have some resources you'll see me referring to later. The APA course paper template. We also have a YouTube channel for watching our webinar videos on the go, and a blog where we explore different topics. So we're going to focus on two things today. We're going to talk about some music video genres and how to assess a music video. And assessing a music video actually comes up in several programs, so this is not bound to a specific assignment. Our intent is to help give you some of the vocab and some of the structure for organizing your thoughts or observations, and then you can apply principles from writing other papers to that with this subject-specific vocabulary. So let's talk about some music video genres. So music as opposed to music video genre. What's the difference? Well, music, we'd be talking about something like jazz or rock, pop, hip-hop, for example. But music video, we're talking about the different types of music videos that can be made as opposed to the type of music captured in that video. Now, why do I mention that? Well, because it's a very common mistake to shorthand things to, I'm discussing the music genre, which is not the same thing as the music video genre, which is our focus today. So, what are some major genres of music videos? Well, we can start with the earliest, which is the live performance. Imagine you're watching a broadcast of a concert on television or on YouTube. That's a live performance music video in its simplest sense. This is certainly something that there are many impactful and interesting things out there, especially if it's a band or performer that you like. An example, my father is a great fan of the Eagles, and so there's a famous concert that's videotaped, and the different songs in the concert have been excerpted as specific videos. So those would be live performance. A stage performance is one of the more common things where it's not a live performance in front of an audience that they happen to tape, but this is a special performance that is made just for the video. And that may be people just standing and performing on stage or on set, but often there are other visual elements. An example that comes to mind, the White Stripes have a song, Seven Nation Army. And if you watch the Seven Nation Army, it's going back and forth with all these zoom shots, zooming in on the drummer, and with other visuals flying by. But the focus is, they're on set, they're playing the performance, and there are other things that are woven in to make this extra dynamic. So it's not just a process of listening to the video and watching them play, but there's cool visual stuff being worked in. Narrative. So there's some sort of story that is being told there. And this can go in many directions, and it's not exclusive. There are many music videos that will intercut between a stage performance and a narrative where they've created some story that is being told there. A concept that's kind of think artistic, and often that is done with some sort of twist. For example, there is a concept video for the Natalie Imbruglia song Torn, and in that you see what looks like traditional music video, and then you see them breaking down the set and removing things. And so part of the concept is like they are filming a music video, but also her life is being taken apart, and so that we have this special concept that guides how these things fit together. So it starts looking like one, but part of the concept is that there's the art imitates life and the framing device of filming a music video to shape that. Lyric video, this is a more recent genre where you have the lyrics being displayed on screen, sometimes very simply, often very artistically. This is something where it started out as something fans would do, and then now some artists will release them on their own. And animated is, again, something that has some crossover. They actually started doing this pretty early in the days of music videos, where they're doing different, using effects to make it look like there was a hand-drawn animation being used. And now it's used in a whole lot of music videos of all sorts of different genres of music. And so it can be interwoven into these other things. There are some things where it becomes this whole elaborate thing where you have combining, for example, number 3 and number 6 and number 4. For example, there's a Daft Punk album where they commissioned these Japanese animation, these anime-style music videos, and there's this whole story about a band of aliens who are brainwashed, and it unfolds across multiple videos, so that's combining multiple genres or crossing multiple genres, and that's certainly something you can do, but understanding the streams that are feeding into it is a helpful place for explaining just what you're seeing and classifying it. So some examples, and I've included here links to videos on YouTube so that you can watch these and reinforce your sense of things. So if we're having a live or documentary performance where it's recording a live performance, we might have Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, the recording made at Earl's Court in London in 1975. It's one of those iconic 70s rock performances. And if you listen to it and compare it to the well-known album recording, you'll find that there are lots of things that are different. For one thing, it's way longer than the album song. I believe this one's more than 10 minutes. And if you just listen to the organ at the beginning, and you'll find that it's very different. Stage performance. So here's an example. Weezer has a song called Buddy Holly, and they filmed this at a museum that had the set of the television show Happy Days. And they also edited in footage from the television series Happy Days. So it looks like they're playing at episode, or playing on an episode of the show. Now, you might say that's kind of the concept, but here we're talking what's the main organizational thing. So it's presented as if it's a stage performance. It happens to also include some of those concept music video ideas and something of a narrative, because there's events that happen in A to Z progression of things. But it's presented as if they had captured a stage performance on this television show. So you can have more than one organizational conceit, more than one genre that is playing in there. Now for narrative, let's take a song by the British synth-pop group Clean Bandit. And so this is Clean Bandit featuring the vocalist Jess Glynne, Rather Be. Now, we start out, we have a woman in Southeast or East Asia who wakes up and she starts seeing things. She starts seeing members of the band Clean Bandit all around her, and that feels like she's going crazy. And so that we have this narrative through line. There are these events that are happening to her, and so that the music is something that it's the soundtrack of her experience. Now, she's also listening to one of the songs, and it's dancing along to it as she starts to notice these things. So they're synced, but it's not something that if you're just listening to the song, you would think, oh, this is going on. It's a story that fits in with the music of the song without being illustrating exactly what's going on in the song. Concept. Well, here's an example. The artist Childish Gambino and Problem did this video called Sweatpants. And it's kind of a commentary unfolding in a diner, a social commentary unfolding in a diner. So there's not a real story of events happening, but the way that events occur in this diner is definitely synced to the music in a way that shapes how you experience that. And it calls attention to some details of the song in a way that gives lines more weight, because you can see what they're referring to. Now, just as a content warning, there is some mild profanity in that. Lyric videos, these are pretty straightforward. I'm going to give as an example local Minnesota artist Dessa, Skeleton Key. There's the official lyric video that she had created, and it's a very artsy one. And the way that the words stand out, if you're listening and watching at the same time, it does emphasize or underline certain words in a lovely way. Animated, we'll say Kanye West's Heartless as an example of using animation there. And often there's some sort of morphing where you're not just getting animated all the time, but it's a major part of how they're choosing to emphasize certain details through that aesthetic. Speaking of aesthetic, you can also look at the aesthetic techniques used and ask, okay, what is the relationship to the song there? And it might be illustration, where the purpose is to bring out the themes directly in the song. Great example of this, Luther Vandross's song, Dance With My Father. So, Dance With My Father is a song about losing a parent. And if you watch this video, you have these little scenes here that are basically evoking directly all the things that are sung about in the song. And it's very powerful for that reason. You have talking about memory with a parent, and we see that kind of memory. You have talking about feelings of grief, you see people grieving. So that's a direct illustration. It's one of the aesthetic techniques that you can use. Keep in mind that you may use more than one technique in a music video, so you might be writing about more than one. But this video as a whole is using this aesthetic technique of illustration. Another technique that you might be using is amplification. where it's not this kind of one-to-one correspondence that we get in the Luther Vandross music video, but it's going even wider, even deeper. So the song Symphony, again by the British group Clean Bandit, the song Symphony is talking about how someone makes you feel like there's a symphony playing. And what the music video does is it takes that from the, oh, feel like everything's great, and turns it on its head, and we see someone suffering an incredible loss. And so now the symphony part is presented with something of a narrative where after this incredible loss, someone is having to conduct a symphony while feeling all of these things, contrasting the engagingness, the vibrance of the music with how they are grieving and crying inside. And it's this thing where it just blows everything up, because you get the sense of someone trying to hold it together while all this grief is lurking under the surface. And it really amplifies the themes of the song. And then you have something like Disjuncture, where the two aren't, well, they aren't directly in correspondence as far as the content of the song being illustrated. This Daft Punk video, Around the World, does have some conjuncts. The rhythms of the song, there's lots of movement in time to the music that goes on here. But you watch it, and I think the initial response many people have to seeing this music video is, what am I looking at? Because it's kind of an alien-esque thing, and there are all these people wearing costumes who are moving in sync with the music, but there's no clear sense of here discrete events are happening. There are people and monsters and aliens that are moving in time with the music, doing various movement patterns, and like, okay, now the song does not actually have many lyrics, so if you're trying to do a narrative illustration, you wouldn't get very much. But there's definitely this disjuncture. The musical content does not, in any direct shape or form, lead to the very weird visuals that you're seeing. Now, you could take this approach and say, okay, Around the World is just very weird, and it would be unclear if you're talking about the video or just travel around the world and having this experience. But the point is that the visual things that you're being seen and the aesthetic that organizes them is at odds with the purely musical sound in some shape or form. Now, you can take any of these and intercut these within a particular video. And so you might have a video that changes in different parts, which aesthetic it's using or which ones it's emphasizing, and it might switch between the different major genres for portions. There is a Ava Max song, for example, that is done somewhat as a concept where it's crime fighter. It's like a comic book, and so it has comic book panels, labels that pop up, and a lot of fancy special effects and such. So is that narrative? Well, it's telling a story in chapters. It's also kind of a concept. If we look at the aesthetics here, it's definitely on the amplification side. You might say that some of it is so apart from it that you might call it disjuncture at moments, but I would say that chapter by chapter, some of it is amplification, some of it is disjuncture, and that's to, in part, fit the narrative that's spun there. So you can have more of these operating at the same time or in different portions of a video. So how would you assess a music video? And you could just do a free analysis. That's certainly fine for many assignments. But you can also do an assessment through a particular lens where you are using a metric of things to talk about or a rubric for talking about that. So let's talk about what you might be trying to do. And it could be any number of these. Are you assessing the song composition, the thing that was written? Are you looking at the lyrics as opposed to the music? You're looking at the musical performance itself, because it could be a great musical performance. You're like, this is a terrible song. Are you looking at the technical qualities of the video? Is it sharp? Is it new? Is it riveting? You might look at a music video shot in the 1980s and be like, yeah, this just isn't sharp the way I like things. And that may or may not interfere with your enjoyment. Are you looking at the artistic qualities? Is this dynamically visual in how it was created? Is there some sort of artistic impact that you get, that you feel from watching it? Is it interesting, novel, engaging, colorful, gloomy, and how does that fit the song or the narrative or other elements? You might select some of these, but probably not going to write about all of them, or you'd end up with a very long paper. And so you might be looking at what kind of comparisons to make and asking questions like, is it original? Does this feel derivative of something else you've seen? Is this something that has a novelty? Does it feel like its own thing? Or just by the numbers? Is it fun, engaging? What works well? And it might have you, getting more excited, but you're like, oh, visually it's not great. Or it might be visually great, but just because it's visually great doesn't mean that it works well as a whole. So to ask the question, do the visuals enhance your appreciation of the song? Or does the song enhance your appreciation of what you're seeing? And has the music video changed how you understand and appreciate the original song? There is a Hoosier song, Take Me to Church, that if you watch the video and you know what was going on in Russia at the time, it very much changes your understanding of what the song is. And that's the kind of thing that you wouldn't get that layer of meaning without watching the video and knowing what the tie-in is referring to, what gives it that extra weight. Now, you can also analyze a music video according to some sort of published strategy or methods. For example, if we're taking something from described in a book chapter, say this one by Jay Richardson, you would reference it and cite it, and you might have language like, oh, according to Richardson 2019, a music video has blah, or Richardson 2019 classified this as this other thing. You can also, if you're pulling from just a book by a single author, a group of authors, be citing things the same way. Oh, Osborne 2021 said that this is X. According to Osborne 2021. And you can even use something that's a video, because there are plenty of videos that have excellent descriptions about how music videos function. If you want to draw on those, you just cite it like any other source. Here we have the channel name at the beginning, Indie Mogul. Because it's a YouTube video, we have the year, month, and day, the title, note, and the link. And you can even refer to a specific timestamp in there. Oh, from 30 seconds to 34 seconds in, they talk about X. So what medium the information is published in doesn't matter in APA style here, because you are citing it like any other source. You're referring to the author, the date, and then the rest of the information is in the references. So to start outlining and drafting that, whatever you pick here, you're going to want to organize the information. And if you haven't done that sort of evidence-based argumentation, then I recommend watching our Beyond Summary webinar. You can see the video here. And especially if you're asked to do synthesis, we have this synthesis and consequences video that goes more in depth on that particular topic. But pick your method of organizing. It could be analyzing the genre. It could be using one of these published strategies, and introduce how you're going to be doing that, and then build the rest of the paper around that. So if there's a sequence of questions asked that comes from one of those published sources, great, tell us that you're using that, and then go step by step through that. for analyzing it on your own, start with a big picture and then to give us an outline of how you're going to be discussing things, and then give us paragraphs where you make a claim. Oh, this video has a animated section, and here's some examples of what goes on in there. Here's how this changes the meaning. Here's how you feel about it. This is the analysis, evidence analysis and repetition. Synthesis. Okay, what is the importance of this music video having this animated section? What does it do? And go through in this fashion in your different paragraphs, so you have each of the smaller claims that you're making being backed up by evidence and analysis. That's all we have for today. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at onlinewritingcenter@acu.edu. You can schedule an appointment online through my.acu.edu. Go to Resources and select Online Writing Center and just follow the instructions. And you can find more information on the Writing Center website. Good night.